Well, my name is Heather, and I am from Spalding, Lincolnshire. My background, I think, is probably you can base me on that I had depression really bad, and that I joined the gym after giving up my antidepressants cold turkey. And so I came into here to try and kind of be the catalyst of change to kind of reboot my own life, if that makes sense. Well, my personality is that I'm quite chatty, I'm quite friendly, I like to help people. Yeah, I'm just quite a sort of like, I'm stubborn, I'm quite sort of determined. If you say I can't do something, I'll do it twice and take pictures, you know, that I would say that's sort of my personality, is I'm sort of quite chatty and friendly, and just determined. I would say that when I first started to feel depressed, it was probably the 2015. Probably sort of like that sort of winter time, I felt that I started to get quite unhappy in myself, and it was something that I couldn't shake. As much as I tried to sort of feel happier, it wasn't, whatever I was throwing at it, it wasn't working. And I was just feeling sort of past the point of that I couldn't sort of cheer myself up. And that's when you start to question things. We think, well, okay, well, what's the matter? Why am I feeling like this? So, and that's what led me to go to the doctors to actually see if I could do something about it. So I think at the beginning, I think to try and make myself feel happy, I used to try and sort of like go out with friends. I used to try and sort of watch a movie, watch something that would make me laugh, which then resulted to I used to eat lots of chocolate. And that's where things started to come quite undone, because obviously I started gaining quite a lot of weight, which then just made, that was a knock-on effect as well. So I would try all sorts. I'd try to read a nice sort of book and take my mind out of it. I would try to sort of go to the movie and see a movie with a friend. I would try and just try and kind of shake myself out of it. And then I thought, well, I'm fed up, but I'm trying not to be. And then I'd eat some chocolate, and then I'd feel better for a little while, and I'd think, because obviously the sugar rush, and then I'd feel fed up again, and then I'd have a bit more. And that got into quite a sort of negative kind of situation, really, where you just go around in circles. You're desperately trying to cheer yourself up. And sometimes people will actually say to you, like, come on, for goodness sake, cheer up. And you're like, I'm trying. Trust me, I'm trying to do everything that I possibly can. And it just wasn't happening. It just, whatever I threw at it, whether it be sort of sugary food, hanging out with friends, family, it just didn't shake it at all. I just felt more detached as I kind of went along. And then you start almost like, when people get to a point where I think people will sometimes, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, but they sort of like, oh, for goodness sake, can't you just cheer up? Oh, you've been miserable for a while, just cheer up. And so then you start to hide it, and you then start to sort of, instead you start to act. And so you keep the depression to yourself, and that's really dangerous. And that's what I started to do. I was like, I'm fine. So if anybody ever says to me that I'm fine, it's like a little, oh, I'm not sure that's a good word. I don't like the word fine, because I think you're maybe masking things, because that's how I felt. I was sort of like, I didn't know how to explain what was going on in my head. So I'd just say, I'm fine. Because I've had sort of people say, oh, can't you just cheer up? Or man up. I got that a few times. And then you think, okay, well, you don't want to listen to my problems, so I'll just get on with it. And I'll just plough on. And however I feel, I'll take that back a notch, and I'll keep that private. And then that's when you start to sink lower. I think the point of when I had to actually take action myself was when I couldn't see past it. I didn't want to be here anymore to a point, and I just thought, I don't know what to do. I need help. I need somebody to just give me some help. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything in my I used to work out, I used to do sort of aerobic classes, and even after that, I would do an aerobics class. I wasn't getting the high anymore off it. Like sometimes I would get that high, whereas in actual fact, sometimes I was actually bursting into tears at the end of the class and then going home. And the tears would be in private. They would be once I finished the class and I would just leave, I would cry. And I just thought, I can't go on like this. So, and I'm quite sort of self-motivated and self-driven. And if you have a problem yourself, it has to come from you. I've always been sort of like, you have to be the one that deals with it. If you're not happy, well, then you need to do something about it. And I wasn't happy, and so I had to do something about it. And that's why I thought, well, I've got to go to the doctors. That's what they're there for. They're there to help. And so I went to the doctors and asked for help. And when I went to the doctors to ask for help, immediately I was, do you want medication? Do you want antidepressants? Right, we can put you on antidepressants, which I turned down straight away. I'm not a believer of like a tablet fixes everything. So I was like, no, I just want to have a bit of support. Can you just sort of like help me? Can you sort of like, is there anything we can put in place? And that's when they sent me for counselling. So I did an 8-week course of counselling. It didn't help me. And I appreciate everybody is different. But counselling didn't help me. It was group counselling. So I've been sort of used to sort of hiding my depression because I'd reached that point where people was getting a bit fed up. So I took it back a notch and I was hiding it. So I'm not going to go in a room and talk to 15 other strangers about how I feel. So I just sat there and I processed it and I took in what they're saying and I read the worksheets that they gave me. And like the meditation CDs I listened to, and I tried to do everything I could. But they have like a score sheet on how your mood is. And so every week you have to put like out of 1 to 10 how you feel. And my numbers were going down rather than up. And so that's when they sort of said, like they took me to one side and said at the end of the 8-week course, there was like, right, should we give you one-to-one therapy? And so that was kind of, off you go, one-to-one therapy. I had 2 weeks of that, which I hated. So I faked being well to get out. And that was probably not the best idea, but that was my idea. And I just needed to get out of that situation. I didn't want to be under the therapy, because sometimes people have a tendency when you're depressed to talk at you rather than to you. And they just almost take you out of the equation and sort of like they're trying to solve your problems as if it's some like shopping list or something, or how you feel. And yeah, one-to-one wasn't for me. Therapy just in general isn't for me. It's not my sort of my method. I think for me I had to just work on it from my perspective. And this place is what saved me, which sounds a bit dramatic, but it really did. But I convinced the lady that I was well, as she discharged me, and she was really happy with what I told her. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm feeling so much better. Yeah, 10, I feel amazing. And off on my way I went. I was still on medication, because in the end I had to go on to medication. So when I was doing the 8-week course of the group therapy, I think I got to like 3 weeks in, and then I went back to the doctor and I was like begging to go on medication. I was like, please, I can't do this. I need to go on medication. And she put me on sertraline, and she put me on 50 milligrams to start off with, which was staggered up to 150, which is a big amount. On that particular tablet, I was quite spaced. So when I eventually sort of got up to like 150 milligrams, I used to like zone out. I used to just like pick something and just sort of a spot on the wall or whatever and just like look at it. And I felt nothing. So I wasn't depressed because I didn't have any emotion in me, because the tablet stripped that away. So you could have been as horrible as you like, and I just would have just sat there and just taken it on the chin and been like, okay. Because that's what it does. You don't cry, you don't feel anything on that. And that wasn't living. Again, I think I got into the habit, I think when I was on the tablet, to sort of just to cope and just to manage on the medication, I used to just act. And I think that's what I used to do. My family used to notice. They used to notice that I was sort of like a bit of a zombie. And they would sort of be like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. But I think when you're on that medication, I just went really quiet because I just felt like nothing. And like my mum said, it was like somebody turned the light off. I just went all dim and just like really quiet and silent. And she says, you lost your sparkle. And normally she says, like, we can't shut you up. You're always chatty. You're always sort of, and we've just lost that because I just felt nothing. I just was bumbling along. And I think it did for a while. But then as well, sort of, I was still trying to sort of eat my feelings. I kept eating quite a lot of sugary things, and I've got a sweet tooth anyway, so I used to just chomp my way through loads of chocolate, anything, to just try and sort of feel something. And I was just, I got into really bad habits. I think that was a very dark time because I was just existing. I was getting up, I was doing everything that I should do. I was brushing my teeth, I was brushing my hair, I was getting dressed, I was going to work, doing exactly what I should be doing. But as I was doing it, I was sort of losing a bit of me as I went along because I was just ticking the boxes. I went and I tried to do those therapy sessions, but the group counselling was the thing that put me off. I think if it was the other way round, if I'd started off with one-to-one therapy and then maybe progressed into the group therapy, then I probably would have been better with it. But I think that to throw me in with like 15 other people, I didn't want to be in that room, to the point where I didn't even take my coat off. I was like, no, I'm not staying. As soon as you can let me out, I'm going. And they used to put like this weird sort of like lock on the door as well, sort of thing. You'd have to ask somebody to go and unlock you, kind of thing. And that made me think, like, you think I'm some crazy person. I'm only feeling upset and down. I'm not crazy. And that didn't help. So I was like, I just want to leave. And as soon as I was like, right, everybody's going, I was like the first one out the door, gone. So I was just kind of going through the motions, really. But like I say, I think if I had actually started off with the one-to-one therapy, I could have opened up a bit more to one person rather than two therapists and 15 other people sat next to me. That wasn't really encouraging. I think when I went to therapy and I started I just sat there, I didn't particularly bond with anybody, but there was a girl that deteriorated and she was sat next to me. And I remember she started crying like uncontrollably. So I was like getting the tissues out and I was like passing them to her and I was like, are you okay? Can I do anything to help? And obviously she's just like crying her eyes out and they just sort of took her out of the room. They just like came and got her and just took her out the room. And then we never saw her again. They just sort of said, oh, she's gone on to something else. So no, I didn't particularly bond with anybody because I was not in that mind frame of chatting. The chatty Heather wasn't there. I wasn't the person that I am now. I was just the Heather that just very silent, head down, wouldn't look at anybody, kept her coat on, didn't want to be there. As soon as I could go, ran out the door. And I was a very different person to the me that sort of was before that and the me that is now. I think when I first went to see the doctor, I felt like a failure. And I think that's what prevented me from asking for help sooner. So I I tried to fix it myself. I threw everything at it. I tried taking like herbal antidepressants, like, you know, whatever to take. Like, I'd read up on things. I read up that sort of like if you ate salmon, it used to help you lift your mood. If you had avocado, so salmon and avocado salads for me every day. And I literally hated avocado at that point, and I used to just keep stuffing it down. And I used to just try everything I possibly could. So I took herbal things. I ate my body weight in chocolate to try and help myself. I tried to sort of catch up with friends, do different things, read self-help books. So I used to get those. I used to try and sort of think, well, I can fix myself by this. I'll read this book and I'll figure out what to do. So when I actually got to that doctor's waiting room and I'm sat there waiting to go in, I just felt a failure, because I just felt that I can't sort it out myself. I've got to ask somebody else. And how's that person going to sort me out? Because normally it has to come from you. And so in my mind, I was like, well, you failed then, haven't you? Because you can't even sort it out yourself. So you're just an idiot. And I was quite sort of, harsh on myself probably. But I remember sitting there, I remember thinking, oh, I could just walk out now and not ask. They haven't called my name yet. Should I just go? I don't need help, really. Maybe I can just sort it out. And then I think I was sort of thinking about doing that, and then she came and called my name, and she came walking across to me. So I thought, oh, I've got to go now, because she's seen me. So in I went. And yeah, that's the word that always I felt like a failure, asking for help. I think when I was on my medication, I'd had counselling that hadn't worked, and I started to feel worse and worse, and like at my lowest ebb. And when I decided that what can fix this? And I didn't know, because I just thought, I've come to the doctors, I've gone to group therapy, I've had one-to-one therapy, I'm on medication, I'm on a high amount of medication, like 150, and she kept jumping it every time by 50 milligrams. And the thing is, the great thing with sertraline is it's a fantastic drug, as in I'm quite responsive to it. Quite a few people are. You take it, and within sort of like 2 weeks, I felt amazing. I was like, yes, I feel the happiest I've felt in ages, you know, forever. And then it soon sort of wears off, and then you start to feel the darkness creeps back in. And so then they jumped it again to 100, and then they went to 150. And I just thought, what am I going to do? This is just jumping from... I can't just be on medication for the rest of my life. I'm on the happy pills, and yet I feel anything but. And that's when I got to a point where I decided to sort of take my own life. I think it was the panic was setting in. I think I didn't want to be on medication for the rest of my life, because I wasn't living. I was just existing. I wasn't properly doing everything. I wasn't my normal self. I was just a copy of that version. And she wasn't that great. She wasn't happy. And so I just thought, I can't do this, because it's just a repetitive kind of hamster wheel. It's a circle that I can't get out of. I'm just sort of stuck. And so I was set to drown myself. That was my method. And I thought it'd be short and quick and to the point. And yeah, that was my plan. And I just got to a point where I just thought, no, I just can't keep doing this. You know, I'm faking it with my friends. I'm faking that I'm okay. And the more you fake things, the more you feel less yourself. You're taking a piece away from yourself each time you try to put on a front. Each time you try to sort of be like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm all right. Yeah, no problem, Dom, I'm all right, don't worry. That's when you think, well, actually, I'm not okay, and I'm actually really fed up. I've had counselling, and that's not worked. I'm on antidepressants, and that's not working, because I still feel fed up. What do I do? And people don't understand how you're feeling, because you're not telling them how you're feeling, because you're acting. So that strips away any sort of, you feel lonely because you're not letting those people in, which is your own fault because you're acting, because you don't want to be the friend that's always down. But at the same time, you're just in a very dark place and you don't know what to do about it. You get to the point where you feel quite desperate. And that's where I got to that point where I just thought, I can't do this. I think it reached a very close point. I was sat on the riverbank. I was sat on, there were some slabs at the side of the river, and I was sat on them, and I was ready to go. I don't actually know really what kicked in, but I just remember thinking, no, you can't do this is stupid. And maybe my stubbornness, maybe my determination. I come from quite a big family of women, and we're quite a lot of strong, feisty women. And maybe that kicked in somewhere in me. So I'm thankful that it did. But I think it's kind of, I don't know, the not giving up. I'm always that type of person where you sort of like, I try and give it my all and I'll keep going and keep going. And I think if I'd just thrown myself in the river, then that was just giving up. And I'd be more of a failure because I've given up. So something in me just says, no, don't do this is stupid. And I just got up and walked away. And I'm very thankful that I did. And if that's down to my determination, then thank God I've got that determination. But it was a very dark period in my life, which is why I always want to sort of open up the conversation with people, because it needs to be talked about. Mental health needs to be normalised as much as physical health. You come to the gym, you go on the treadmill, you try and keep your cardiovascular fit, you try and lift weights so you can be strong. What's the difference in looking after your brain and your mental health as much as anything? And that regards to having that sort of self-respect in yourself, having that you can open up and talk to certain people in your life. Yeah, there's probably not everybody you tell them your deepest, darkest thoughts, but you need to have somebody that you can talk to, that you can turn to and actually say, I'm not feeling that great at the moment. And I try to be that person. I'll listen to anybody because I would always try, because I remember when I felt so like isolated, because I kept it from people, because I didn't want them having my problems on their shoulders. And so I just sort of kept myself to myself, but I sank lower. So I'll always try and sort of, if I can, listen to somebody, but I'll always encourage people. You've got to have a network of people that you feel, even if it's one or two people that you can just talk to, it's better than nothing. When I went to the doctors, she was as supportive as she could have been, but it just reached a point where the medication could only do so much. And for me, it was like the pinnacle moment was when I actually got to the doctors, and I had to go for like sort of a checkup, basically, just to make sure that sort of like they checked my blood pressure and everything else, and my weight, and she just said to me that I was overweight, which I was like, I'm aware. And I said, well, obviously I'm on quite a high dose of medication. What can I do about it? You know, what can I do about because my weight was obviously just ballooning, I was getting massive. Which wasn't helping as well, because I feel depressed as it was, and then on top of that I feel more obviously overweight and just worse because of that. So I asked her what I could do with it about it, and she then just said, well, you can either be fat and happy or you can be skinny and miserable. And I was like, oh, right, okay. So, and that was kind of the pinnacle moment. I remember I rang my mum and I said, you know, like the doctor just said I could either be fat and happy or skinny and miserable. And mum was like, she trained for how long to tell you that? But actually, I'm not negative about it. In actual fact, it was probably the kick that I needed. And that is what gave me, right, you need to do something yourself. Okay, that gave me like the grit of the determination. It sort of kicked in and I was like, okay. And that's the day I threw my tablets in the bin. I was like, no, this is just a vicious circle that I'm on, and it's like a horrible sort of merry-go-round, and I need to get off. So the tablets went, and that's when I knew I had to be like I had to be the catalyst of change. I had to be the one that's sort of like, right, you need to be the driving force here. You need to sort yourself out. You've been on these tablets. You still feel miserable. So let's do something about it. Okay, so I used to do like aerobics sort of classes, and nothing against those, they were great, but I'd outgrown them. And I needed something that was a meaty challenge that was going to really throw me off my edge and really kind of, I needed to almost like, yeah, just go for it and just, I felt like I had to kind of rebuild myself, and that was kind of what I did. And that was my sort of, in my own thought process, I need to kind of like, look, I need to take sort of the reins back. I need to rebuild myself. I'm going to stop doing aerobics classes. I'm going to join a new gym. And so I came here to Everybody's Gym in Spalding. And I had a friend that used to do like one of the aerobics classes a week. And we used to sort of have a bit of a chat, sort of doing the different classes. And we went for coffee. And she was like, well, why don't you come to the gym that I go to, which is this gym? And she says, you can just get in for like, they do a deal where you can sort of come in and have 3 free visits and then see if you like the place, and then you can sign up on your friend's membership. So that's what I did. And I came in. I was determined that I wasn't going to lean on her because I had to do this from myself. So she came in, she brought me around showed me around the gym. So I came and did like a bit of cardio, a bit of sort of like just, I don't think I actually picked any weights up, but I just did a little bit of sort of whatever she was doing. And then she convinced me that you need to take like a membership out like right now. So before I knew it, I was like, yeah, I agree, I'll take this membership up. So I signed on the dotted line, got the membership. Then she was like, well, really, you should have a plan. They give free plans out, so you may as well take it. It's free. Come on, take it. And I was a bit like, no, I'll wing it. I'll just do my own thing. And she was like, no, you really should have a program, because then you can stick to that. You can sort of, it gives you a bit of a focus. So that's kind of what I did. So I went cold turkey on the medication, and then soon after I walked into this place. And that's when things started changing. And it was hard, it was really hard. Because obviously when I came off the antidepressants, I had lots of side effects. I used to have hot and cold sweats. I used to taste metal all the time. Every bit of emotion that you hadn't felt, all of a sudden I felt every emotion. So I used to be in tears at the most stupid, randomest things. And then you feel like the paranoia creeps in and everything else. But I was adamant that this was the right place for me. I've set a program in place. And then the next decision was that I was going to have personal training, because I knew that I needed to lose a lot of weight. And I thought, no, I need to have somebody in my armour to help me out here. I plucked a number from just wherever in my head of how much weight I wanted to lose, and that number was 6 stone. So I just thought I can deal with that and tackle that, and then we'll reassess when we get to 6 stone off. And so I signed up, I had a program, and then I started personal training. And that was kind of my way forwards out of where I was. I think having a personal trainer is having somebody in your armour. I think it's, you feel like you've got somebody on your team to help you towards whatever that goal might be. I had a lot of weight to lose, and to do that on my own felt quite daunting. That's why I decided, I thought, no, I can't. I need, especially just after coming off like my medication and going cold turkey, I thought, well, I need some help here. It's a big amount, and I don't want to fail at this. And I think having sort of that personal trainer it gives you that consistency. You can take the knowledge from them. They'll help you to work specifically on things. So I wanted to lose the weight, but I also wanted to gain strength. And I'd never really done weight training. I think the heaviest I lifted was probably 4 kilogram dumbbells and a kettlebell, probably 6 kilogram. And so that was like really starting from that, sort of right from the bottom. And I was quite determined in the fact that I wanted to really build up on that. So, right, this is my foundation, this is where we're at. Right, let's try and sort of like, so we'd have a program, and then throughout every program you would try and step it up. And it's a gradual sort of step up process, because you can't go from there to there. You've got to go all the steps in between. And having a personal trainer will sort of push you out your comfort zone a bit. He'll make me do things that I don't necessarily want to do. But then when I'm doing them, I like it, because I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Because in your own head, you probably think that you're not capable of doing something like that. Or I can't do that. Like, for me, I think the biggest point of where it really, something snapped inside me was when we was deadlifting. And Adam was teaching me how to deadlift. And I'd never deadlifted in my entire life. And I was like, right, okay, what do I do? Where do I put my arms and hands, and where do I do this? And then the hour just went really quick. It just melted away, time just melted away. And that was when I sort of really got the bug. That's when I can remember. And actually he took some photos of me when I was doing it. And I've got them on my phone, and I can actually remember how I felt, because I had a vest on that I felt really uncomfortable in. I felt really overweight that day, and I know I was overweight, but I felt really overweight that day in my head. And then we had a really good deadlifting session. It was still that was quite early on, and so I felt probably my head was all over the place, because of obviously coming off like my antidepressants. So Adam probably had to really work me to sort of like chat, because my head was sort of all over the place. But by the end of that session, I was like, yes, we've made some progress. We've broke some ground here. I feel really good. And that's when I kind of wanted to do more. Like, that was the point, sort of like, I did deadlifting, and then I was like, right, I want to get better at this. And I want to do the bench, and I want to be able to do this. And I want to, like, it really put me into a good space with like the weight training. And I think that's one of the things that I sort of try to push on my social media, especially with like weight training, when sort of you have people say like, oh, do you want to look like a man? It's empowering, and there's no other word that I can sum up without it sounding a bit naff. But weight training makes you feel mentally strong, physically strong, and it gives you that kind of buzz that you need. And so having personal training, he'll push me outside of my comfort zone. Yeah, you can do another sort of 10 reps or something. Come on, you can do a few more. Right, you can do more reps at that. You can then go up. Come on, this is too easy. Whereas on your own, you just think, no, I'm doing it. I can do 10 reps, that's fine. Whereas he's like, well, if that's easy, right, let's go up. And that's where he then pushes me to be my best. And I think that's where you then start progressing. And you've got that person with you. You're not just on your own, winging it in the gym, making it up as you go along. You've got that person that's like, no, right, this is the goal. This is what we want to achieve. This is how we're going to achieve it. Let's crack on. For me, the gym is the community. I picked this gym because I like the look of it. I like the size of the gym. I liked the kind of, it's a small gym, but it's got an awful lot of sort of equipment in, and the people in it are what make it. And I like the community side of the gym. I like the fact that I know most people, and we all want everybody to do well. I like that. That's something that's really incredible about a gym environment. Nobody is trying to outdo each other. We all want each other to do well, whatever that goal is, whether you want to do a London Marathon, whether you want to deadlift 100 kilograms, it doesn't matter. We all want you to kind of do well. So for me, this is like my happy place, but it's also a place it's saved me, it's changed me, and it's allowed me to kind of evolve into the person that I am. and all the people that come here have been coming here for years. And so they've seen me at my worst, and they've seen me progress and change into the person that kind of I am today. So they're sort of, you see them every day. You know, sometimes I'll see some people and we'll have a bit of a chat and a catch up and whatever. And it's nice that we've kind of got that vibe and that kind of atmosphere, and that's what makes it the gym that it is. I think with my personal trainer, Adam, he's determined like I am. I think he's quite stubborn like I am. And he's a positive influence on my workout and my training. He's always very encouraging. Whatever idea I come up with, like I want to do this, or I want to do that. Okay, well this is what we will do, and this is what we'll work on, and this is what we will develop and push through. He's massively encouraging and sometimes forces me to do things like half marathons. When I had joined the gym, and I think it was in 2018, I was really scared of I knew that they was doing things like they was going to do sort of like a half marathon, and I'm not the best runner in any way, shape or form, and I hadn't actually done a great deal of running, and that was one of his suggestions. It was like, right, you should do a half marathon. And I was like, no, we shouldn't. I really shouldn't. And he was like, no, I think you should. And he kept on and pushing me and sort of motivating me in the best possible sense. And I agreed. And I was like, okay, I'll do this half marathon. And actually committing to that in turn helped with my fitness, and you get that sort of sense of achievement when I couldn't run a mile, and all of a sudden now I can run a mile. I can actually run 2 miles. And then he was doing all the different sort of like the training, the interval training, giving me as much support and wisdom and knowledge as he possibly could. And he was doing it with me. He was running the thing with me, you know, he was right by my side. And we got lined up on that start line, and I felt as sick as anything, thinking, what am I doing? But you know what? I did that half marathon, and I can't wait till the next. And I will do these challenges because that's the thing about Adam, is he will always, right, let's do something, let's do a challenge, let's do this. So in the end, I've done like Tough Mudder, I've done a half marathon, I've done Nuclear, and they're all great challenges that I've enjoyed every minute of. And I think it's all added to sort of building me back up. And I think from that foundation, from when I first walked in, all these little things of doing this and doing that and trying this and a bit of deadlifting and let's do the monkey bars and do this and learn how to do the monkey bars, which I kept falling off all the time. And then sort of we kept trying and kept going at it and going at it. And I remember when I actually did the monkey bars, and then we was like both jumping up and down like, yes, you've done it. The sense of achievement, that's the whole package, and that's what sort of builds it, because Adam's as enthusiastic as what I am. So I want to do more. I want to push that envelope, and he does as well. And that's where that's kind of what builds the bigger picture and what keeps me going. And I've probably progressed more than what I ever would have done just on my own.
The person that walked in is very different to the person you see now. And the changes have been hard, but they've come over time with confidence and different things and aspects of the gym. So first of all, it was losing weight. That was the goal. But as time went on, the goal changed. I did a couple of free taster things for like deadlifts, a couple of different moves that maybe people are a bit scared to do. But she dived headfirst into them and got the bug almost for weightlifting after that. So it shifted from cardio and me maybe giving her some ideas of half marathons and things like that, and onto the weights. And the progression has been slow and purposely timed to get to where we are now. So it went from weight loss, cardio, to then the weights, and now we're on to trying to hit different muscle groups and tone certain areas as well. So it's been a long process, but that's what it's all about. Working with people over that duration makes for the changes they want to see.
Perfect. Another question. How have you seen her mentally progress?
Mentally, she has progressed from maybe someone that would, say a few words to me here and there, and we'd be happy together for let's take the half marathon again. We was happy. She completed the half marathon, but the change from that to now is massive. So we finished the half marathon, and I know that she felt good about it, and then maybe a couple of days later it was back to work, back to the gym, I want to achieve this now. Whereas 4 years later, it's more, how can I achieve it? She's happier within herself, and I know she feels a lot better, and the change has been massive over the 4 years for sure.
Last question. Have you got any hidden surprises for her? Any hidden challenges that she's not aware of?
I've always got something up my sleeve, so I wouldn't want to tell her. But yeah, there's lots of things we can do in the future, from challenges to do with fitness in general and challenges outside of the gym. But yeah, I'm not going to say anything yet.
I think when it comes to mental health, they push medication too much. And I think, yes, medication is sometimes needed, and I'm not saying that it's not, but at the same time, there is other options. And if in life, there's usually more than just one option. And I feel that medication is just being pushed too much. And I think actually, if you encourage them to join a gym, I think, and walk into a gym, then they would actually benefit far more than what you would do just taking some tablets. I think tablets are just a plaster. They might do okay for the right here, right now, but in the long run, you need to kind of get to the root of the problem. And I think coming into a gym, it's just, you can leave your problems at the door, and it's a place that you can kind of come in, you can do a really good workout, you can talk to different people. You might not feel like you'll do a really good workout. You'll probably turn up and think, oh, this is going to be a mediocre or a very average workout. But then the music's pumping and the atmosphere in the gym gets you, and then you'll go and lift something, and you'll actually, or you might feel a bit angry, you might feel in a bit of like you're taking your stress out on something, and you might lift something a little bit heavier or something, and then you'll buzz off that. Well, you can't do that with tablets, and that's where I think that the gym and the environment and the community and the people in the gym is far better to help with depression and to help with anxiety and mental health, and it should be pushed more. It should be actually at the forefront. It should be right, the gym, then medication if that's not working. I think for me, helping myself with my mental health is, I'm very much into fitness and all that, obviously, but I think I write things down. You have certain methods and ways of working your own mental health and looking after your mental health. For me, one of them is, at the end of the day, I will just write a little bit down. I'll always end on a positive, but if something negative has happened, I'll write it down. I have certain friends that I know that I can just rant to as much as I want to and talk to, and since my mental health and how it went and what happened. They've actually got better when they actually realised that it got to such a level which they didn't realise how bad I was. So now they'll just listen to me. And I think that's a bit better, and that's something that I can now just ramble away to, and it is gone. It's just something that you've just, I'm stressed about this, and we'll do it to each other. But I think you have certain ways of, like, you don't let any sort of negativity or toxic into your life, and I think that's one of the things that I'm quite adamant about and I'm quite strict on. And when I was sort of at with my depression, I realised that actually I had a few people and relationships in my life that they weren't good, and I think it was just because I was keeping it alive. I was like the life support, and I was the one that was just keeping it there for the sake of keeping it there. So those friendships I've walked away from, and as harsh as that sounds, it's what I had to do for myself, because people put you in a box. And like the person, Heather, that first walked in, yes, there's an element of Heather, of that person still there, but I've had to adapt and change. And so from that time to even now, I've changed, and they didn't like that. And so you end up sort of walking away. You don't fit anymore. You don't fit with that person. They just assume that you'll behave in this certain way, and you're not behaving in that certain way because you've got a bit more respect for yourself, a bit more self-worth. If somebody treats you a little bit bad, you end up, as I've got through this process, I will be the person that says, hang on a second, no, this isn't working. So that's one thing that sort of, as harsh as it sounds, I try not to let any sort of toxic negativity kind of into my life like that. As much as we can all do in a reality sort of life and realistic approach. You've got to sort of look after yourself. You're in the relationship almost with yourself and forever until you die. So you've got to be the one that looks out for yourself, because nobody else will do it for you. You know, we'll all have an element of looking out for other people, but it has to come from you. I think if I was to say to my younger self in that waiting room, walk into the gym, join the gym now. I think I would just tell Heather that it will get better. It will get better. It might not feel like it right now, and sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. But you will get there, and you've just got to stick with it, and you've got to never lose that determination, never lose that drive and that stubbornness. And I think it's very important to be proactive. I'd probably just tell her, you need to get to the gym, and that you will be okay. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a bit of healing, which sounds a really cliche, naff word, but you have to go through that process to get to the other side. And that other side is worth all that hard work. So you just got to keep chipping away at it. It's not going to happen overnight, but you've got to keep chipping away, and you will get there.